Hello and welcome back to the Villa View. We've taken the quite unusual step this derby week of we've decided that we wanted to speak to a Birmingham City fan, insert booze here. The reason we've done this is because we've got a guy called Gabriel Sutton who's actually quite a big supporter of our channel, which is obviously very unusual as a Birmingham fan, but he's always been very good to us. He's always given us constructive feedback and he kind of looks at us as a neutral, which we appreciate. He runs his own website as well, for the Football Lab, which you can check out. Link will be in the description for you guys to check out. But we just wanted to get a sense of what the opposition are feeling going into derby week. We're aware that this won't be everyone's cup of tea, so switch off now if you don't want to hear anything about Birmingham City. But if you are interested in what's going on with our dirty neighbours across the road, then stay with us. Okay, so thanks for joining us today, Gabriel. It's a well, I say it's a pleasure. It's tolerable having you on as a Blue Nose, but honestly, we do really appreciate you coming on to talk to us. Obviously, the last time Villa met Birmingham back in, I think it was October, at St Andrews, things were very, very different. Birmingham were not far from the playoffs. Villa had just got a new manager, obviously an ex-Birmingham manager, but now we enter the tail end of the season and everything's completely changed. What's your mood now compared to what it was like then when you last played Villa?
Well, I think even though we were quite high up when we last played Villa, and I thought we possibly deserved to win that game. We had, I know Donaldson had one that sort of might have gone over the line. I thought we were pretty good in the second half that day. On the whole, I think even though we were sort of around seventh in the first half of that season, sometimes in the playoff places, I never quite felt that we'd have enough to get into the playoffs. I think we'd been sort of defending our penalty area well, and we'd relied on Kuszczak making a few good saves. But I never really felt as though we were playing particularly well, and so I didn't have that much confidence that we would stay in the top six, even though a top half finish would have been okay. But I mean, I could see the logic in the change of manager, just because I felt like we needed to use the ball a little bit better, particularly in open play. I think by the time Rout left, we'd only scored about 10 goals in open play that year. And those Zola's teams have played some good counter-attacking football in the past. But I think the reason why, a lot of Blues fans are quite negative about the situation now is that we've lost the ability to defend well, which we had under Rowett. So even though, we might have hoped that it'd be a positive thing, that we'd be better going forward, actually we've lost the solidity that actually got us up there.
See, to me, Birmingham being seventh in the league and getting rid of their manager feels like absolute madness, and now obviously he's gone and things have gone badly. Before Rowett came in, you had Lee Clark and you were struggling towards relegation, and now Rowett's gone, you find yourselves nearer the relegation zone again. Is your view a popular one, or do the fans in general, do they give Zola, do they like Zola, do they want him to stay, or do they want him out?
Oh, not at all. I don't think my view was a popular one, and if anything, I think my opinion on Zola has changed purely because he hasn't actually improved us going forward, and we're much worse defensively. I mean, on Rowett, I think, did he do a great job for the club? Yes. Was he the man to get us promoted if we had money to spend, which I understood that the investment was there? I'm not sure he's the kind of manager that's going to get the best out of attacking players. I think under Trillion Trophy Asia, when the investment had been there to sign attacking players like Fabrini, Che Adams, Greg Stewart, they were players with potential, but Rout didn't quite trust them or give them a run of games and sort of build the team around them. And yeah. I think, the teams who do get promoted, they do tend to have, one or two players who are capable of producing that bit of magic. And I'm not sure that Rowett was the man to produce that kind of player. Having said that, I think that we've lost a lot of the good things that he sort of produced since the change of manager.
Do you think you're actually in serious danger, or do you think you'll get away with it just by the fact that obviously Rotherham, that's a relegation place gone? Wigan is going to be tough for them to get out of it, and so there's only really one relegation place left. Do you think you'll just end up getting away with it?
Yeah, I think we'll limber over the line. I think Wigan and Rotherham are gone, and then Blackburn are 4 points off Bristol City. So I think Blackburn will be the third team to go down. And I think because we picked up so many points in the first half of the season, we'll probably be okay. I mean, we've got Rotherham tomorrow, so I think if we can get another win there, then we're home and hosed, really.
Oh dear, we are in trouble.
I think that the major concern is next season, and do we stick with the same philosophy, and maybe even if we change from Zola, stick with a possession, expansive style of football, or do we go back to what Rauter did and be a bit more defensive? I think that's probably the bigger concern at the moment.
So obviously, when we played each other last time, as you alluded to earlier, I think you probably were worth the 3 points. Do you feel coming to Villa Park that you've got any chance of pulling off a result with the way you've been playing?
I think it's going to be a big ask given the form that you're in. You seem to have a habit of sort of grinding out 1-0 wins. I'm impressed with your centre backs this year. I think Baker's a terrific player. So it's going to be a tough game, but it's a derby game, and we've certainly beaten the odds against you in the past.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to try not to think about that.
Jeff Horsfield.
Who? No, I don't remember it. I definitely don't remember that. I remember John Carew in 5-1 and Gabriel Agbonlahor in the last minute at St Andrews, but I don't really remember those other things you were talking about. Yeah. Obviously, you know our current manager, Steve Bruce, very well. I think he's got you up, Birmingham up twice in the past. What was it about those sides that Steve Bruce got them ticking? What was the style of those sides that Steve Bruce got up previously? And do you think he can get the same thing with Villa and maybe give us a chance next season of going up?
Well, I think the main thing that Bruce did was he instilled a competitive attitude into the team. I think when we had Trevor Francis just before Steve Bruce took over, he was quite sort of gentlemanly, but he didn't really have that bit of inner steel. And I suppose, of course, if you look at interviews, Steve Bruce, he does appear like a nice guy. But I also think if you see sometimes when he's on the touchline, he does have a bark at his players, so to speak, if it's not going well. I think we certainly that first season in the Premier League, 02-03, we had a lot of players who really wanted to prove themselves at the top flight, and we just had that spirit and work ethic, and we really sort of played above the sum of our parts. And I think Steve Bruce was key to sort of creating that. And I think that was why we did quite well in derby games, because we always wanted it. We had players like Damien Johnson and Robbie Savage who instilled that sort of competitive spirit, and they would get involved in the play acting, whether you like that or not. They stood up to the derby games, and I think the main thing that Bruce did was just instilling that competitive attitude.
And what do you make of what Bruce has done with Villa so far? I mean, obviously you never want to see Villa doing that well, but I know you are actually a reasonable Birmingham fan, and you support our videos and stuff, which we can't thank you enough for. What's impressed you about what he's done at Villa so far?
Well, I think my opinion, I think to an extent you judge this season next season for Villa. I think on paper, if you look at the results, you can't. I'm sure you'd say that they're bad results, because I think Aston Villa are a club that on paper should be in the top 10 of the Premier League, let alone not even the top 10 of the Championship. Yeah. Having said that, this is a year where you've made lots of sort of big changes in terms of complete overhaul of the playing staff, change of manager, obviously bringing in Bruce, and then the change of ownership with Tony Zier coming in. So if, as a result of those changes, you then have a summer of stability, which, the noises are that's going to be the case this summer, and then you go on to sort of get the top six and win promotion potentially next year, then you look back and say this is a transitional season. And maybe you can forgive the bad football and the poor January that you had and the bad start and all those sorts of things. But then if you start the next season badly, then you look back at this and say, well, that was a bit of a wasted season. So I think Bruce has done the basics right, but I think it's a massive year for the club next season.
Who's Birmingham's danger man? Who's the man that Villa should be watching out for?
Well, the one player who I think has played better under Zola than under Rowett is Che Adams. We got him from Sheffield United, I think, quite late in the window, and he scored early on in his career against Wolves. He's quite a lively striker. He's got a bit of muscle about him. He's got a good work ethic. He likes derby games, so I'm quite excited about him. I also think Christian Bielik, the lad we got from Arsenal mid-season, he's one that's suited to playing in a three at the back system. Not many of the players we've got at the moment have got that. I mean, players like Paul Robinson, I mean, I love him to bits, but he's far too old for us at the moment. I hope we can keep him on the coaching capacity. Michael Morrison, he's injured at the moment, but he's not suited to three at the back. So I think Christian Bielik's the one player that can defend, and he's got a bit of grit about him, but he's also composed and can deal with the ball in wide areas. So I'd say Bielik and Adams are the two ones to look out for. Who's
your biggest worry, Villa-wise? Jonathan Kodjia?
Well, I've done my championship team of the season, and Jonathan Kodjia I've got up front, just because, not just for his goals, but also for the way he carries the team forward. I mean, I saw your game against at home to Brentford earlier in September, and I thought Kodjia was probably the only player that showed a bit of spark that night. He's got that capacity to sort of run at defenders and and take players on, and I think that's an important part, and possibly something that we're missing going forward at the moment, that bit of pace. And I think if you can get him running at our defence, particularly with the gaps, because we do tend to have a lot of gaps in our defence, then I think you might have some joy.
Just going back to the managerial stuff, when we played each other in October, I felt there was two managers that understood the occasion. I think Rowett got the Birmingham side very up for the game, and obviously Bruce is a veteran of the second city derbies now, obviously managing both sides. You think Zola will understand the derby as well as those two managers, and that he'll have Birmingham up for it?
On paper, you'd say no. But then we would have said that again about the Wolves game, and we put in a terrific shift at Molineux back in February, and we won 2-1. David Davis, I think, is an important one. He tends to play well in derby games. Obviously got that goal against your lot. So I think maybe it might not necessarily be about Zola and more about the team thinking, this is the biggest game of our second half of our season, because neither of us are going to go up or go down, I don't think. So really, I hope we've not lost the next two games, and then it looks different for Blues. I think we're both going to stay in the Championship next year. So really, it's winning a derby game that's actually vitally important for the feeling of the club and the fans. And I'd like to think that, whatever the players feel about Zola, which I got the sense this was the case at Wolves, they almost parked that to one side and said, we've just got to win this for the fans. And I like to think that that's what the players are going to do.
Finally, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, because I know it's a pretty difficult one. What's your score prediction?
I must admit I'm a little bit worried, and I'd probably take a point right now. But then apart from the second half against Wolves, we've not done too badly in derby games this year. So I'm going to say 1-1.
I'm not going to say anything because I'll end up making myself look stupid.
Keep it up with the channel. I think as much as I don't like your football team, I think you've got a great channel, and I wish you all the best with it.
Thanks, mate. I really appreciate that. It's good to hear. In a weird way, it means more coming from someone who doesn't like Villa. It's quite strange. Once again, I just want to thank Gabriel for coming on and talking to us. I think he holds some quite interesting views. I know if I was a Birmingham fan, God forbid, I don't ever want to think like that, but I'd be absolutely livid with what was going on with them now, with the Rowett situation, and obviously Zola coming in and not doing well. Once again, I just want to reiterate, we know this video won't be everyone's cup of tea, but we're going to have lots of content coming up for you this derby week, so we wanted to try something different. Let us know in the comments whether you did like it, and also if you didn't like it, because that feedback's just as important to us. We'd rather know if something isn't liked, and we won't do it again. Make sure you subscribe to us with your post notifications on. We'll be having much more derby content coming on this week. Once again, thanks very much for your support of the Villa. If you enjoyed that video, why not watch another? Click the video choices on screen now to go and watch them in full. Be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking our logo there on the left. Easy peasy.